In 1895, two cars collided in Ohio. The oddity of this case is that the automobile industry was just beginning, and there were only two cars in the entire state. Liberated Jews who were traveling on a German death train, World War II. A Turkish official taunts starving Armenian children with bread. The Armenian Genocide, 1915. When asked about his health at 70, playwright Bernard Shaw complained that doctors kept predicting his death because he didn't eat meat. At 90, he quipped, "I'm doing fine. All those doctors who said I couldn't survive without meat are dead now." Responsibility for their work. Testing a bridge over the Ob River. Engineers and builders stand under the bridge. Russian Empire, 1893. Even back then, there were topless technologies. 1910. A resident of Ohio demonstrates a car of his own design. USA. Beauty pageant winners. Washington, 1922. In 1941, after the attack on Pearl Harbor, anti-Japanese hysteria swept the U.S. Here is waitress Ruth Lee, born in America. Fearing she'd be mistaken for Japanese, she sunbathed on the beach alongside a Chinese flag. Cyclists, scooter riders, and motorcyclists have been irritating other road users since 1900. Poor Renaissance girls. Over time, it became fashionable to have absolutely no eyelashes. They were meticulously plucked, and it was closely monitored to ensure there were no hairs left on the eyelids. Prosthetic big toe found in the tomb of Tabekatemut, Thebes necropolis. German soldiers prepare a chlorine gas attack. Poland, 1915. Conjoined twins, Pip and Flip, popular circus performers, 1923. Night fishing in Hawaii, where bright lights attract fish to the shallows, 1968. A Dutch woman with her head shaved and smeared with tar, punished for relations with Germans. She's being punished by those who capitulated in 5 days, but found the courage to take revenge on their women. Amsterdam, 1945. A drinking fountain, for colored only. USA, 1940s. Military leader Geronimo of the Chiricahua Apache, right, who led the fight against the U.S. invasion of his tribe's land for 25 years. In 1886, he was forced to surrender to the U.S. Army. This heartbreaking photograph was taken by Duncan Cameron in the Northumberland Strait in 1969. Afterward, many countries banned the import of fur from Canada, and as the then Prime Minister of Canada admitted, this photograph formed a negative image of Canada in the eyes of many people worldwide. Two brothers from West Virginia who fought on opposite sides of the American Civil War in 1910. A 3,200-year-old attendance sheet from Egypt. Reasons for worker absence. Embalmed brother. Drank beer. Bitten by a scorpion. Andy the Goose was born without feet, but became a celebrity after inventor Gene Fleming made him Nike sneakers. He inspired children with disabilities until he was tragically found killed in a park in 1991. The culprit was never found. A school bus on the streets of Taiwan, 1950s. A Palestinian teenager shoots a slingshot at an Israeli Air Force helicopter. West Bank, 1988. Princess Margaret caught in a gust of wind. Unlike Queen Elizabeth II, whose dresses had sewn in weights, Margaret allowed herself more freedom, to the delight of nearby students. Medical staff at a psychiatric clinic practice techniques for catching violent lunatics, 1903. In the past, smallpox marks on the face were considered an advantage when applying for a job. They indicated that the person had already recovered from the disease and would not infect their employer. There were 157,000 cases of the USSR executing its own soldiers during World War II. In the US, Britain, and France, the count was only in the hundreds. A warehouse filled with shoes from the victims of Auschwitz concentration camp, Poland, 1944. In the 1950s, New York had tunnel police. Henry Ford with the first car of his own production, 1896. The image of a 21st century man according to Vogue magazine, 1939. Hand-dropped bombs, World War I. An Egyptian column destroyed by Israeli aviation during the Six-Day War. At the end of the war, Israel gained control of territory 3.5 times larger than its pre-war area, 1967. Cleaning a church, Leipzig, Germany, 1920. A woman mourns the tragedy of July 3, 1988, when the U.S. Navy shot down an Iranian passenger plane with 290 civilians, including 66 children. In the early 60s, a mugger in Los Angeles was targeting elderly women. The police set a trap. Officers dressed up as grandmothers and patrolled the streets. The plan worked. The criminal was quickly caught. Lumberjacks of the past. Safety standards were unimpressive. Cormorant fishing is an ancient tradition in Asia. A ring is placed on the bird's neck to prevent it from swallowing large fish. The cormorant brings the large catch to the owner, who takes it and rewards the bird with a small fish. Frane Selak, dubbed the world's luckiest man, survived 7 catastrophes, including train crashes, plane falls, and car explosions. After cheating death for a lifetime, he bought his first lottery ticket in 2003 and won £600,000. An Armenian woman from Aleppo with tattoos indicating her belonging to a Bedouin tribe, 1915. Arab nomads gave her a choice: marry one of them and convert to Islam, or be handed over to Turkish soldiers. Violet Jessup worked on the liners Olympic, Titanic, and Britannic, all of which were shipwrecked, but she remained unharmed. A men's beauty contest, USA, 1919. Annette Kellerman demonstrates a women's swimsuit in 1907. She would later be arrested for indecency. The Nushu alphabet, invented by women in a province of southern China for communication among themselves, as they were denied access even to primary education. It was used until 1912. Initially, Halloween lanterns were not made from pumpkins. In the 19th century, turnips were used for this, and such lanterns looked truly horrifying. Austria, 1954. French cavalry on their way to the front, 1914. This image marks the sunset of the cavalry era as World War I introduced modern mechanized warfare. In the 80s in the USA, there were doctors who diagnosed by the smell from underarms. An orphan, taken in by an aviation squadron, writes messages on bombs. For my mom, for my dad. From the U.S. Historical Archives, oyster cannery workers, Josie, 6, Bertha, 6, Sophie, 10. Port Royal, South Carolina, 1912. Work began at 4 a.m. Crau Farini, The Monkey Girl, London, 1883. Adopted by Guillermo Antonio Farini, she was falsely advertised throughout her life as a primitive human and considered a missing link between humans and apes. Epidemic of encephalitis lethargica, also known as sleeping sickness, one of the strangest diseases in the history of medicine. People infected with it constantly wanted to sleep and often didn't wake up. The mysterious epidemic, observed in the 1920s, spread to many countries. Philippine Aborigines in an enclosure at the New York Zoo, 1905. On October 15, 1917, Mata Hari, a dancer of Oriental dances and the most romanticized spy of the 20th century, was executed for espionage on behalf of Germany. Mata Hari asked not to have her hands tied and no blindfold placed on her eyes. She blew a kiss to the executioners and said, "I'm ready, gentlemen." Armless Charles Tripp and legless Eli Bowen on a bicycle, 1890s. On the ruins of the Brest Fortress, 1961. In 1938, London post offices allowed mailing ducks, rabbits, etc. Ended when blood-stained packages started arriving. A girl from Arizona writes a letter to her sailor boyfriend in the U.S. Navy, thanking him for sending a Japanese skull, 1944. French resistance members parade women through the streets of Cherbourg for having relations with Germans during the occupation, World War II. Beer and cigarette. During a break at the Super Bowl final, USA, 1967, leader of the Aum Shinrikyo sect greets the mayor of Moscow at the opening of a sect branch, Russia, 1992. 3 years later, members of this sect carried out a terrorist attack in the Tokyo subway. Skeleton of Siamese twins in the Mutter Museum. The last day of gold distribution by the government, China, 1949. British nuclear test, Orange Herald, 1957. Whiskey dispensing machine, USA, 1960s. An interesting device from the past, a face shield for protection during snowstorms, Canada, 1939. An orphaned boy adopted by an air regiment writes, "For Mom, for Dad," on bombs. Magician Joe Burris is lowered to a grave in a casket as he prepares to perform a stunt. Burris passed away after the casket collapsed under the weight of the concrete poured on top of it. Teaching Papuans how to use condoms. Papua, Indonesia, 1960s. Shocked Soviet soldiers stand near a large pile of human ashes at the Majdanek concentration camp in 1944. Army priest in a camouflage cassock, Vietnam, 1968. Martin Lorello, born with the ability to turn his head 180 degrees, 1938. A cigarette butt collector, Paris, 1905. These clocks, found among the ruins, now always show the time 8:15 a.m., the moment of the atomic bomb explosion in Hiroshima. A former German soldier, returned from captivity, reads notices on a tree about the search for relatives. Dresden, 1946. Kate Camberley rescued over 600 animals since 1943. She turned her home into a dog shelter and fought officials to protect her animals. A dancer. Behind her, an atomic explosion. Nevada, 1950. Liquidators prepare to clear the reactor roof. Many of them would soon die from radiation sickness caused by exposure. During the Chernobyl nuclear power plant disaster, 1986. A girl, descendant of slaves, lives on a plantation in a primitive hut with newspapers for wallpaper. Alabama, 1937. Emperor Nicholas II inspecting trophies after a hunt. Belarus, 1913. The trophies were beautifully arranged for him. The 1,000-yard stare. USMC Private Theodore J. Miller is helped aboard a ship after intense combat on Eniwetok Atoll. Miller was KIA a month later, 1944. Strike of Working Children, USA, 1902. Indians give a ceremonial salmon to a train conductor. Oregon, 1940. The Native Americans lived peacefully, fishing, hunting, and using herbs for medicine, but then came the representatives of the exceptional nation and destroyed this people. The killing of frail children was not only common in Sparta. If a woman gave birth to a deformed child in ancient Greece, she would kill it. In Rome, this was mandated by law. Lava flows engulfing a village west of Vesuvius, 1944. Corporal Shoichi Yokoi hid in the jungles of Guam after Japan's surrender in 1945 and lived there for 28 years. He was found by shrimp fishermen in 1972. His first words upon returning, "It is with much embarrassment that I return alive." Black prisoners serve disciplinary punishment, USA, 1937. American soldiers inspect the cremation ovens at the liberated Dachau concentration camp, 1945. Two girls on the streets of West Germany talk to their grandparents through a window in a house in the East Zone, separated by a barbed wire barricade, August 14th, 1961. The Spanish flu killed more people than World War I. In 1885, an ancient Maya statue was found in the jungles of Honduras by archaeologists. Black Day, the one day of the year when black visitors were allowed at the Memphis Zoo, 1959. Trump is a chump, an anti-Trump rally by the Nation of Islam in front of Trump Towers in 1988. A banquet of disfigured faces, dinner for French soldiers who were disfigured during World War I. Paris, 1925. Hennessy Cognac Tasters, 1952. The first interracial marriage in Mississippi, held in 1970, became a significant event in the state's history. A 13-year-old boy from the Hitler Youth, taken prisoner, 1945. Special effects in the film industry in the 1960s. I always wash my kitty with fragrant soap, postcard, 1920s. Chinese Americans protest against scrap metal exports to Japan. Your children and wives could be next. This metal will be turned into bullets, 1939. Whether this clip sparked joy, anger, or just a bit of annoyance, I want to hear your thoughts below. Stick around for part 2 coming soon. Please hit like and subscribe to support the channel. See you.